do that in this world, man. You can't do that in this world, man. Arsenio, they got rules. They got rules. Like, he has a rule. The bass player, he got a rule. He got to wax his head every morning. That's a rule. He follows the rules, man. He follows the rules. Oh, these are jokes. Come on.
Oh, these are jokes. Come on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is a Badger Bite, right? That's what we're calling them? Yep, a Badger Bite, where we're basically just putting out a short little video with our thoughts on
little teaser of Badgerness.
Yeah, with our thoughts on maybe some relevant thing that's doing the rounds in our public consciousness. And today, we're going to be talking about the Oscars. Hopefully this is the last time, and I know that a lot of you guys are already exhausted by this, but first of all, Allison doesn't know anything about it because she's a hermit and she wants to give her side of things, I guess, or at least like figure out what's going on.
An update.
And yes, and secondly, there is an update that I think is worth looking at. So
for what it doesn't have, at the very least, for what it does have. But tell us a brief summary of what this topic is.
So on Sunday, the Oscars happened, and no one would really know about it if it weren't for the incident, because nobody was watching. Probably was on track to have the lowest ratings of any Oscars before. But that's not what's interesting. What's interesting is that there was a presenter, a comedian, Chris Rock. You guys might have heard of him, and he was, ribbing the audience, which is it's a tradition. They roast each other at the Oscars all the time. I mean, a lot of times it's necessary. You guys probably remember how Ricky Gervais did, but this didn't end with him. I mean, Billy Crystal used to do it back in the day. It's always been a thing. Prepare to get roasted when you go to the Oscars on some level. And Chris Rock made a joke about Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett-Smith. And Jada Pinkett is bald these days. Her head is shaved. And Chris Rock made a joke referencing the old movie from the 90s starring Demi Moore, G.I. Jane. And he basically said, I have the video clip, we can just go into it. But he made a joke at her expense. And this created the incident. So Will Smith, who is the husband of Jada Smith, went on stage and assaulted Chris Rock. Let's just be real. He slapped him for making a joke at Jada's expense. And he shouted at him from the audience, which made everything become really awkward, using, dropping F-bombs and everything about the joke that Chris Rock had made. And the internet exploded over this. There were memes everywhere and a big discussion about whether or not Chris Rock was in the wrong, whether or not Will Smith was in the wrong, or what have you. And so we talked about this on the news show yesterday already. I've given my thoughts. I may need to reiterate them here after I show the clip to Allison, and after we look at the newest, I guess, news related to this. But I don't think that the incident is not significant. I know that it seems weird considering, all of the other problems that are going on in the world with money printing and Ukraine and all these other things. But when you look at that incident, I think it does kind of speak to like what's happening at the smallest, most intimate level and how that can have effects on like these much broader global issues. And so that's why for me, it was of some interest, because I do think that there is a ripple, I guess you could say, that resonates, especially with men, related to this issue. So I guess I think that I basically summarized it, but the best way might be to just let you see the video.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a great.
Man, that was a hit. I actually have not watched this till now, and I didn't realize that that was such a substantial hit.
So essentially, he stood up and used violence in order to protect his wife's honor. I mean, I know that sounds cheesy, but I think that that is what he was thinking when this happened, okay? And he made it into this big thing. And of course, you can see the audience is not sure how they're supposed to react. So it makes the whole thing awkward. Here's, Lupita Nyong'o, I think her name is, right here next to Will Smith. And she's just like, whoa, that was really unexpected. Right? So.
Okay. That was
Okay.
Yeah, so that was awkward.
That was a thing.
That was a thing.
That was a thing.
So now I think that before we get into the response, I think that it's important that we have a little bit more context. So about I want to say a year or two ago, Jada Smith, Will Smith's wife, brought Will onto a, let me go to right here so you guys can see, brought Will Smith on to have a conversation with him in front of the world. It was like a public conversation about how she had been cheating on him with at least one other man, okay, named August. And August, this guy August that she was sleeping with, was a friend of their sons. So their son Jaden, who, you know, he's an adult, but he's much younger, obviously. He had a friend named August, and Jada and August slept together at least once, probably more. We don't know for sure.
And did the relationship start after August was of age?
The relationship with August, I don't know. Because I haven't really been following like the details about it, but I do know that there's a massive age gap, and that it's really weird for someone to have sex with her son's friend. Besides, I mean, that's like porno plots, you know. It's not reality. Easy. Yeah. And this is also important. She told Will Smith about her infidelity in front of the world. So it wasn't a private conversation. She basically put him on blast, told him in front of the world, and explained essentially that he doesn't satisfy her and that she was finding it somewhere else. And then gave, I believe it was a half-hearted or even non-apology regarding the whole mess, okay? And of course, Will Smith sat there crying and blaming himself for what happened, okay? Like essentially, and you know what, and I think this is a reality. Could this woman
be any more of a Bond villain?
Yeah, I know. She's even bald. But...
oh man, this is gonna get us. Yeah.
No, I know. No, you can make fun of bald women, just not Jada. You just have to make sure, you know, check the peephole before you answer your door, because Will Smith might be waiting to slap you. But what I think ultimately, and this is what I said on the show yesterday, Will Smith's response, first of all, was prompted by Jada, because you could hear this. I paused it here to show you that when he told that joke about G.I. Jane, Will laughed at it. He's laughing. Lupita Nyong'o is laughing. These people back here are smiling and laughing. They all thought it was funny. The only person who didn't think it was funny was Jada. And you can see her rolling her eyes right now. Huh?
Yeah, just mute it so you can really focus on Jada.
Yeah, I'll go back a little bit so you can see the reaction.
Okay.
Look at her. Like, you see her reaction? So clearly she was not pleased, but Will was fine with it at the time. Because again, you know, getting a little roasted getting like somebody, take the piss out of you when you are a extremely high status, well-to-do celebrity is probably necessary. I think that we all can accept that. But what I think happened
but she has no sense of humor about herself.
No, she has no sense of. Well, there is more to the story a little bit, but I don't think it changes things that much. So she was unhappy with the joke. Will laughed, and then I think it sank in. He was like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have laughed because my wife is very upset." And
okay, let's see that.
Yeah, well, you don't see that. It cuts back to Chris Rock.
Oh, it cuts to the thump.
Yeah. So like the problem is that,
thumping.
and Chris Rock is throwing his hands up like, well, I thought that was pretty funny, considering it's kind of off the cuff and I'm referencing a movie from 20 years ago. But he didn't expect violence. He's like, oh, come on, that was a nice one. Like, he's basically saying, take a joke.
It's a softball. Yeah, it's a softball.
Yeah.
Just take a joke. You're a powerful person. Have a bit of a sense of humor about yourself.
Yeah, and
so let's take a look at the article because I think that we've sort of beat this to death.
Well, yeah, I just want to add though that what came after that is that Jada has a condition, which essentially it's an autoimmune condition that results in some baldness. So she has bald spots. So she shaves her head because the bald spots are, embarrassing, right? I guess. And that's the reason given for the justification of assault on Chris Rock, because the idea is, some people are literally calling it ableism. But the idea is that, you shouldn't make fun of a woman who's going bald because of a genetic or because of an immuno condition or whatever. Right. And I think that's important to point out because, if that's true, for me, it doesn't change anything, but it is something that we should put out there just to add the full context of everything. So with all that said, there's an article. This is from NPR. Jada Pinkett-Smith calls for healing after hair joke, Oscars slap. So after the Oscars slap.
Yeah, let's read the whole thing. I can actually give it a read if you wish.
Go ahead.
All right. I just have to. Okay. So this Jada Pinkett-Smith calls for healing after hair joke. Jada Pinkett-Smith on Tuesday appeared to reference the incident at Sunday night's Oscars that shook the world stage. God, we're such a trivial people. And launched heated debates about ableism, black hair, and toxic masculinity. This is a season for healing, the message splashed across a pale pink background read. I'm here for it. This is the first public statement made by the actress and the host of the popular Red Table Talk since her husband, Oscar-winning actor Will Smith, slapped Chris Rock for a joke the award show presenter had made about Pinkett-Smith's hair on Sunday night. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane, can't wait to see you, Rock said as he prepared to present the award for Best Documentary Feature, prompting Smith to coolly cross the stage and smack the comedian across the face. The moment, from an otherwise unremarkable awards show that nobody would have watched or paid attention to, quickly went viral, leaving onlookers stunned at the uncharacteristically public aggression between two of Hollywood's biggest stars. Smith has since apologized both to the Academy and Rock directly, noting that hearing Smith make light of Pinkett-Smith's very public struggle with hair loss had pushed him past his limit.
Why are you laughing?
That's right. Your first instinct was laughter. Then the James Bond villain gave you the evil eye, and you're like, oh, I have to defend her honor. Jokes at my expense are part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally, Smith wrote. Pinkett-Smith has shared publicly her struggles with I'm not even going to pronounce it, an autoimmune disorder that causes sudden, unpredictable hair loss, and its sufferers, and late last year debuted a close-shaved head to embrace her involuntary hair loss. Her Tuesday message, broadcast to some 11.7 million Instagram followers, was characteristic of the girl trip star who routinely posts simple, uplifting messages to her timeline. While Pinkett-Smith has not talked publicly about the slap or the joke that led to it, social media users have weighed in, with many split on which party, Rock or Smith, or both, but not Pinkett, was in the wrong. But in a Facebook support group for Black women with hair loss, there's less debate. Okay, enough about the Smiths and the Rocks, one woman wrote. Let's get back to supporting and uplifting each other. Our struggles are real, but we shine bright like diamonds.
God.
Oh, I just want to say something really self-indulgent. Like,
Yeah.
I have crappy hair. Like, it's wavy and frizzy. I don't have a support group. Even though, like, people, then there's no excuse for it. Like, people don't give you an excuse. They just judge you. You know, because if you have hair loss, obviously you have a health issue. If you have hair you can do nothing with, you're a slob or white trash. So I'm just putting it out there, you know.
Well, also, how many men go bald, and like how many men go bald, and how many support groups do they have for that? Like,
None.
you know, male pattern
Well,
baldness is something that we all recognize is a reality for the average man. And
is it just me, or does
we
she
all
seem
we can make jokes
overtly
about
evil?
it. Like, why can't we joke about bald-headed women? We joke about bald-headed men.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why we can't,
yeah.
because but I'm looking at her picture and I'm like, this woman looks evil.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she just evil.
Well, I mean, she
It-
was
it-
having
it's not
sex with
about
her
the
son's
baldness,
friend.
It's just predatory, mean-spirited.
Mm.
And yes, having sex with your son's friend, a little bit skeezy, slimy, creepy. Okay? And I just want to, okay. So setting that aside, of course there's no conversation about her responsibility in all of this. This wouldn't have happened if she wasn't upset. You know, and she was upset at Will. So what happened was Will's abusive wife got upset at him, and Will transferred the violence to someone else.
Yes,
That's what
he took out his frustration and not being able to direct his frustration at the appropriate target, which would have been Jada, and it would have been years ago when she brought him in front of the world to tell him she's banging somebody else because he doesn't make her happy. And
Okay, and
so
he looks like he's dying inside. Look at that face.
Well, yeah, he is a broken man. Because
Have you ever listened to like watched Naked Lunch? And there's this one scene where they're talking about this guy whose anus took over his head, and his eyes had all the feeling of a crab's eyes. That's sort of where Will is starting to get into that area.
Yeah.
Like, his eyes have all the feeling of a crab's eyes. It's like his soul is slowly being drained out of his toes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems this is really disturbing. And yes, there's no discussion about Jada's responsibility in any of this, because we can't acknowledge the effect that women have on men, that men do what women tell them to.
Yes.
That women define men's identity. We can't talk about that. And because we can't talk about it, we are going to be destroyed by it. And that's where the ripples go out to the greater world, as you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I thought this was important because this is the conversation we can't have. Like, it hits right at it. And anybody who watches this interaction can see it. Will Smith he was laughing until, I don't know.
Jada expressed. She expressed disapproval. Will caught it, and it was like a mother that essentially gives her son, who is, at her every beck and call, like, and basically says, you need to do something. Like, she doesn't have to say it, but she basically looked at him and said, what are you going to do about this? I'm not happy with this. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to take it out on Chris Rock. That's what I believe. I believe that she runs that marriage. And I believe that her relationship to Will is like that of a overbearing mother and her child. It's like straight up out of Psycho. And
it doesn't matter if she runs it. What matters is that she's abusive and controlling, and obviously doesn't allow him to have his own experience of things.
Yeah.
Like, everything has to be about her ego, and it's sort of disturbing. It's like a disturbing look into this particular relationship and what we will tolerate publicly. Because I guarantee that if this was a man, he would be called out for being controlling.
Oh, he'd have been fired. He would have been disinvited from the Oscars forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine if a woman, and this is another thing too, is important to point out the sort of male disposability angle in all this. Will could have destroyed his career with this stunt. He may not get work anymore. In addition to that, he would not have been able to do that at all if it weren't for the fact that the person making a joke was a man. And the Oscars are hosted by women, Amy Schumer, Regina King, and Wanda Sykes. And they were making jokes at the expense of men, and and all this feminist comedy, woke garbage. No consequences. They lied about the pay gap. They did all that. No consequences. Chris Rock makes a joke about an individual and he gets assaulted because you can assault him because he's also a man. So that makes it okay. And the fact that Jada, did not openly disapprove of this, because I can only assume that her silence is approval of this. She is basically saying it's okay if we create a more violent world by directing male aggression that is actually should be directed at me for the crap that I'm doing.
Not necessarily
And
aggression, just boundary setting.
Yeah,
no, I'm leaving you. You act towards me like a control freak.
Yeah,
okay, keep going.
But I'm saying if women approve, and a lot of women have, because they're all making excuses for Jada, if they approve of this kind of tacit acceptance of the things that Will is doing under what I believe is the direction of Jada, then they're in favor of making the world more violent, because they're basically saying this violence is okay as long as it's for me and my honor. Which, by the way, I don't have a problem with defending the honor of someone who is honorable. She is not. Like, she's kind of scum. I mean, I'll die on that hill. I mean, she's sleeping with other people that are friends with her son. That's gross. Like, we have to be able to say, you know what, that's fucked up. We don't approve of that. And instead, Will just sits there and goes, well, I guess I had that coming. It's like, no, dude, you have to see the value in yourself. Like, I mean, he's got problems with his mom. He's got mommy issues, from what I understand, that go back to an autobiography or a biography that was written about him. But that's a whole other rabbit hole. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, but I do know that there are other issues, which, by the way, is a common problem within the Black population. There are problems with, young men or just men who have issues with their mothers. And I think that this is like some of the ways that it can manifest. That's why I think it's important, because it's not just a couple of goofy Hollywood weirdo celebs, acting out dysfunctional behavior. It is reflecting on something very important that men need to pay attention to. And actually, I will say this other thing that I think this is actually kind of great. Most of the conversation around this is not defending Will for his behavior, nor Jada for hers. It's all basically like, you know what? Jada was cheating on him. She told him she is not good for him. And it's a lot of men that are realizing this. They're like, you know what? I don't want to be involved with women like this. They're absolutely toxic. So I think that men, especially Black men, are waking up, and this incident is creating that conversation. And the reason why the mainstream media is trying to make this about white supremacy, they're trying to make it about toxic masculinity, they're trying to make it about ableism, is that they don't want these men to actually see what really is going on. And they just want to lay blame on Will or Chris. And the fact is that those guys are not to blame. I mean, I think Will is to blame for his actions.
Look at it this way. I'm going to just bulldoze in because, I need to make a space for... Look at it this way. It just comes down to this. He made fun of someone who was balding, or a person who was balding. That would be perfectly fine as long as the person is not a woman. Yeah. And the other thing I want to point out is, how much popularity does Will Smith have? How much clout? How much money? And he still gets sucked into being victimized emotionally by a woman. It's like, it doesn't matter how powerful you are. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how alpha you are. Any of this. Women trump it all. They trump it all. And
True.
you need to find a woman who has honor. And she does not look like a woman who has honor. And she doesn't act like a woman who has honor or a sense of humor about herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the takeaway. It can happen to any man. This is proxy violence. She wanted Will to defend her honor, willing to engage in violence against another man to defend her honor. Nobody's holding her accountable. Nobody holds women's power to do this accountable, to expect men to protect them, to not even protect abstractions like their honor. Nobody holds women accountable for this. And that means we will be destroyed by it as a society. And I think that's the takeaway.
Yep.
All right.
So that, I got nothing else to add. So.
All right. So I'm going to add something. We are doing our monthly fundraiser. It's at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. I know I've been a bit black-pilled lately, but I will continue to do this work as long as you continue to enable me to do it by funding us and ensuring that we are able to provide Brian, Prim, and Hannah the resources they need, and myself the resources we need to create the content that we do, which is really critical because there's not a lot of people out there making these connections. There's not a lot of people out there holding women to account like Jada Pinkett-Smith, and she's not being held to account for her behavior or her expectations. If this was up to Will, this wouldn't have happened. It was Jada's influence that caused it. And it's time we have that conversation. And that conversation is had on our channel and almost exclusively on our channel. So once again, if you want to make sure that that conversation is had, please go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz and support us. Otherwise it stops. It disappears. All right, Brian, back to you.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, follow us over on our alternative media sites like Rumble, and please leave us a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are on this, in particular with this recent update and Jada's very vague and not specific commentary. And most importantly, please share this video because sharing is caring. It is the best way to help us grow. So thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Badger Bite, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.
You've been on a hell of a journey with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, there's people's feelings involved.
Right. Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's healing that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So what happened, Jada?
Okay, so I think it was about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Started a friendship with August.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually became really, really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it all started with him just needing some help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, me wanting to help his health, his mental state. And we found all those different resources,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to help pull him through.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you know, you and I were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
That particular point in time, it was indefinite.
Yeah. I really felt like we could be over. You
Yeah,
know?
no, we
And
were.
over. And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, you know, I think from there, you know, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement.
I think you need to say clearly what happened.
And I got into an entanglement with August. That's what I said.
Hey, that's what I said.
An entanglement?
Yes. Yes.
A relationship?
Yes, it was a
Yeah.
relationship. Absolutely.
We decided that we were going to separate for a period of time and you go figure out how to make yourself happy.
I was in a lot of pain.